Hello, this is Rob Hirschfeld. We're going to spend the next 10 minutes talking about Crowbar and how it operates. We're going to have a demo. And then there's another 10 minutes after this to talk about OpenStack and how Crowbar deploys OpenStack and how we use OpenStack. So this is the first of two parts designed for you to get a quick overview of Crowbar and actually see it in action. So Crowbar started as a solution to help us deploy our data center spanning cloud solutions like Hadoop or OpenStack or others. We found with these software packages and hardware that we had, there was still a significant operations component, both in the expertise to use those products and also the operations and how you integrate them into your data center and bring them up and install them and do all the integrations necessary to be successful. And Crowbar is really our solution to this. It's an open source project that allows you to bring up a cloud infrastructure with all the bits and pieces that you need to bring it up, DNS, DHCP, all those pieces, and integrate it into your environment very quickly. So we significantly hit on the operations capability and reduce the time it takes to bring a system up and then continue to operate it. And we've really embraced a DevOps model here, and we're using OpsCode's Chef tool. We wrap around that both on the hardware bring up side to bring it into the environment, but also in how we approach it at the system level. So we'll show that. And then we have reference architectures, of course, that help people figure out what hardware to buy and not spend a lot of time trying to optimize their hardware purchase, but get moving. And of course, consulting and services help people actually understand what these products are and how to use them and leverage them in their environment. So Crowbar is part of this complete solution that helps bring things up faster. It's really important in this, to where I focus on Crowbar, to understand what DevOps is and how DevOps operates. What we see with DevOps is we're actually approaching the system not as a single unit image, but we're building up all the pieces in layers. So the way Crowbar approaches the problem is by building the system up from the BIOS and the RAID configuration to the operating system, all the utilities and pieces that are necessary to have a full and complete system. So what we do with that is we actually put all these layers together. And these layers are really important in how Crowbar is operating and how all the pieces fit together. Because rather than have one single image that deploys Hadoop or OpenStack or any other application, we actually build it up a piece at a time, and that allows us to leverage a lot of these packages in other solutions. And also, if something changes, just change one piece rather than the whole infrastructure. So enough prep. Let's actually bring it up and show you. So this view right here is Crowbar. This is the Crowbar dashboard, and it's showing that I already have a system with my admin node, which runs Crowbar, and one system already built for OpenStack. And what I'm going to do, because it's our slowest process, is actually bring up another system right into the Crowbar environment. So when I do that, Crowbar's a DHCP server. It's going to automatically discover that system booting. It's going to load a discovery image into that node and start moving right away. Let me go back to my screen over here. I'll slide a little bit out the way. And Crowbar is actually going to discover that node and bring it up, show you what's going on. While we wait for that, I'll give you a little bit of a tour, and we'll see how things are going. So the node that I already have up, I've renamed it to be node 1 over here, and then its actual name is based on its MAC address, so we can guarantee uniqueness in the names. You can see it's been up for a little while. It's been given an IP address. Crowbar manages the MAC addresses out of a bar clamp. Every one of these nodes, these layers that we talked about over here, each one of these is what we call a bar clamp or a module, and then those bar clamps get layered together in a DevOps framework to bring all this system together. So in just a moment over here, you can see the system's going through a discovery phase. I will we'll update and show you the information about that node coming in. It'll automatically appear in the screen on my Ajax refresh. So this is our discovery image. We're still waiting for it to get into a holding state. The way Crowbar operates for discovered nodes is that it puts them into an allocate hold state. We found when we were bringing systems up all the way from bare metal into an infrastructure, it was very important for us to understand how that infrastructure was allocated and operated. So we don't actually take any steps on that system once it's discovered until we make further decisions about how we want to deploy that node. And we'll show that as we go. This node will actually get fully deployed during our OpenStack demo, but it's really important to understand how the infrastructure is brought up in this state and brought through our process. So I keep talking about these bar clamps. The system infrastructure is broken down into a series of bar clamps. So bar clamps are individual modules. They have their own life cycles. They can be added after deployment time. So I can come in, and if I want to add a new capability into the system, I can take an existing deployed system, existing deployed Crowbar infrastructure, and add in a bar clamp that has the capability I want and integrate it. Or I can take an existing bar clamp and patch it. And that makes things very flexible and modular. All the way down to even Crowbar itself is represented as a bar clamp in the infrastructure. If I come back over here, you're going to see I have this node. This node is now in a hold state. It doesn't have a name. It doesn't have anything at all. I can come over here, and we have a special view for managing this, and I can see this node here. It's node 2. I want it to be my first compute node, and if I click allocate over here, it's going to come through, and it's going to start doing the process of bringing that system up. So we'll jump back over to my dashboard, and it stopped flashing, so it's actually now in this working state. It's bringing up the hardware, and from that perspective, it's going to bring up all the data. You can see it working in the background over here on the right. So I'm going to let it go through its cycle a little bit and talk a little bit more about how bar clamps operate. So in this case, I have a list of all the bar clamps. Every bar clamp has its own set of capabilities, and they can also be subclassed. So we have a set of Crowbar bar clamps that are focused on Crowbar capabilities, and we have a set of OpenStack bar clamps that are focused on OpenStack capabilities. And I've already pre-staged a couple of OpenStack bar clamps, and we'll go the rest of the way through OpenStack while we talk about OpenStack. The thing that's interesting with bar clamps is that if I'm looking at an individual bar clamp, I can make some choices. I'll do it against the OpenStack ones. I actually have capabilities within the bar clamps to make changes and edit and tune the configuration of my system. So a starting bar clamp is effectively a proposal. That proposal has good defaults, and we make a whole bunch of recommendations. And it can also leverage other bar clamps and identify that there are other bar clamps that it wants to take advantage of. In this case, we have a lot of configuration options exposed for this component of OpenStack. And then the other thing that we can do here is that we can also determine where we want the system configured and how we want it configured. So if I didn't want node 1 to be my Glance server, I could simply drag and drop and change my infrastructure to use a different server for that. I don't want to do that in this case, so I'm going to exit the screen before I make a change in my system. Come back over to my bar clamps over here, and let's check on how that node is doing. So in this case, you can see we're actually getting very good feedback. The node has transitioned from doing the hardware bring up, the RAID BIOS capabilities, and now it's into the actual hardware install capabilities. So it's running through. This node indicates that it's in place. And what's happening here is that we're bringing up that node, installing the operating system, putting on the Chef client, and really getting it ready to be managed by Crowbar. From there, we're going to be able to use bar clamps that are specific to the applications we want to deploy, like OpenStack, to take the node through its full life cycle. So I'm going to save that for the OpenStack side of this demo. But this is pretty much the functionality that we have for OpenStack. One of the things I can do, I know I want this node to be an OpenStack node, so I'll go ahead and allocate it there so that we're tracking these things. And I'll also point out that there's actually a fully complete standalone Chef server. So for customers who are interested in DevOps and really want to investigate DevOps capabilities, one of the things that you can use Crowbar for is a complete DevOps sort of training environment where you have a Chef server that's available and you can take advantage of the capabilities for Chef. Chef's designed to be a programmer's tool, so it's not as drag and drop and user doesn't have quite as simple an interface. So it's a balance. Crowbar lets you come up to speed really quickly, and then Chef lets you get behind the scenes. With that, my 10 minutes is up. I appreciate you taking the time to learn a little bit more about Crowbar and see how it operates. Please continue listening and learn about OpenStack too.